just when I see that, just his ability to connect and to connect with his son. And again, for men, that isn't automatically natural. I just when I saw that picture of him running in that marathon, you know, and everybody else in there running alone, I'm not suggesting that it's wrong to run a marathon, but I will tell you, because I know men, that for most men in that marathon, 95% of them knew they had no shot of winning that thing. For most men, there's just such a drive to do something, a drive to accomplish, that we need something to accomplish. That, and I'm not going to speak for all of them, but I would say the majority of those men truly were, I don't mean just physically, but in their heart, just running alone. If you all remember seeing, if you did, saw the movie Forrest Gump, remember that phrase he had? I just felt like running. Anybody remember that? Well, ladies, if that doesn't connect with you, I'd say every man has felt that. Just felt, well, there's been many days when every man in here just felt like, just get on the road and run. Just run. But I want to give you here, if I can get back to it, some characteristics of running alone. If you are, because you know several of us men here are sitting here saying, yeah, the pastor preached that to those guys, but I don't need that. I got over it. Well, here's some characteristics. If two or three of these fit you, you're probably running alone. Number one is marital conflict. If you're running alone, there's going to be some conflict. Number two, you're going to have no real friends. You may have guys that'll slap you on the back. If you play football, you may have somebody who'll slap you on the butt, but that's about it. No real friends that you really connect with and have heart-to-heart conversations with. Several men here right now are saying, you're supposed to? You're supposed to have guys you talk to heart-to-heart? Yeah, you're supposed to. All right? A disconnect from children. Doesn't mean you won't love them, but sometimes it'll be a challenge to really connect. It'll be a challenge to really have those conversations, to share love. It'll be a challenge when you're running alone. You'll find yourself pouring, if not all, a good part or a majority of your time and energy into career first, and if you get on top of that and feel somewhat successful, well, then you'll find something else to pour your time into to hobbies, entertainment, or projects, and ultimately you'll end up with, you will achieve. If a man is running, you will achieve something. You will achieve one of these things, but you're going to end up with a certain dissatisfaction in your heart over the very achievements you've worked hard to achieve, because that's not the ultimate design. There's a lot more than just achieving things, and if you achieve apart from that oneness with your wife and that connection to your family and that connection to the people around you, the church family even that God has designed and destined for you to be a part of, you're going to miss a lot. I was in my office this past week, and actually I was showing Gordy the video. I also, generally will go over the message with him, and he fixes it up a little bit. And excuse me, we're in the office, and who happens by the office? I forget what reason he was there for, but Brian King comes into the office this past week. One of the most amazing blessings to this congregation. When I met Brian, 6-7 years ago, Brian was the prototype for running alone. If you had to look under the phrase running alone in the encyclopedia, you'd find a picture of Brian King. And I asked him this week, I said, Brian, is it okay if I throw you under the bus for the sake of the sermon? And he said, absolutely. But I wouldn't do this if I hadn't bailed him out. And because there has been this amazing transformation. And I think as I share a little bit of his story, you'll see how we can all make some of that transformation. I asked him, Brian, surely during some of those days, because I knew that as a pastor, as a church, we could count on Brian for nothing. I mean, he'd show up when he wanted to show up. When he had nothing else going on, he'd show up. And he's a party in a box. So when he showed up, it was woo, hey, Brian's woo, yeah. But, just wait till the next time you see him and you'll have that much fun, but you never know when that's going to be. But I asked him, I said, surely during those years, there had to be some conflict in the marriage. And he said, Valerie's such an amazingly supportive wife. He said, I don't know if she'll be able to come up with anything. He said, literally on the phone, he tells me, he says, I don't think, she's never said anything, so I don't think she'll even be able to remember any negativity.
They're always clueless, aren't they?
He called me back the next day. He said it took her about 30 seconds to come up with a 10-point list. And I'm not going to read all these to you. We don't have time. But just for the sake of humor, let me read a couple of them to you. This is a list Brian gave me, actually, that Valerie helped him come up with, of things he's done over the past 10 years without giving her any options. He bought a car. How would you ladies like that? Hey, by the way, honey, got a car. Took a helicopter skiing trip to British Columbia. Now, don't misunderstand, Valerie knew about these things, but she basically had no options. Here's a good one. On Valerie's birthday, Brian gets an opportunity to ski with Johnny Mosley. Well, Johnny Mosley was the gold medal winner. I mean, we can't expect him to pass that up, can we? So what does he do? He goes skiing with Johnny Mosley on Valerie's birthday, and he says, oh, by the way, her birthday also happens to be Valentine's Day. So on her birthday, which is Valentine's Day, Brian's out skiing with Johnny Mosley. What is Valerie doing? She's sitting in the lodge studying for her CPA. And Brian, this is the truth, he was absolutely convinced that Valerie loved the day. In his mind, this was her dream day as well as it was his. Now, I know most of you women, you think, no, he didn't really think that. Oh, yes. And I'm not just making fun of him. I'm telling you that every man in here, every one of us could tell a story, something like that, where that's just what we think. I mean, yeah, we're running down that road, and this is how it is. And, okay. After Valerie completed her CPA, I knew a guy who completed both his lawyer exam and CPA, and he said the CPA was tougher, completed the bar. It's an amazing. After 10 years of study, Brian was clued in, probably by her parents, that he needed to throw a party. So he invites 20 people over for a dinner party for the celebration of Valerie's passing the CPA. But what's he do on that day? He goes skiing. He shows up when the party was half over, and he'd only bought chips for the party, forgetting that it was a dinner party that he told the people about. So Valerie's dad ends up going out and buying buckets of KFC for the people while he skis. Now, guys, I could go on with the list. He did show up halfway through. Halfway through, he did show up. He showed up. And I know that they are funny. They are funny. And most of you women, how many women know a man that you could tell at least remotely similar stories about? Come on. Oh, come on. You could tell a couple. Not you, honey.
Not about you.